man. Thanks for taking the time.
Jason, it's good to see you down there. And by the way, it's just great to hang out with you. So I'm
Yeah,
pleased to be here.
absolutely. Yeah, so for people that follow us, probably saw that you came and contributed to my low country workshop, which was fantastic. And I want to talk about some of the topics that you discussed. And you closed the show, and it was awesome. And then got to hang out afterwards. We had dinner and had some cool discussions. But I want to start actually with a conversation that we were having on the way out,
Hmm.
which is about our kids, right? So we
Oh,
do have something in common, and so tell the listeners about your daughter, Mary Grace, and I mean you're not very proud of her, we can tell. Um,
jeepers
so
creepers.
tell the story about how she kind of came up, and then we're going to talk about how we handle separating dad coach relationships.
Very, very good. Very good. So yes, that's my kid. I'm super proud of her. I'm wicked biased toward her, but she's a sweetheart, loves to compete. Ironically, isn't like a golf nut. She's not a golf nut, but she likes like if you go out and play with her, she will just love to beat your butt. You know what I mean? So she's very competitive that way, and she loves to hit great shots. That's what she loves to hit great shots. So she's had a club in her hand, like your son. Since I've got a great picture where she's got a club and a ball in her hand when she was like one, and we would play golf, one hole. Right? We go over and putt. We play one hole. We go to the pond. There was a pond. We'd hit balls into the pond, so we'd make a nice splash. We'd go to the golf course. There's a bridge over a pond. We'd tee the balls up in the between the wood slats of the bridge and hit balls into the pond, and then go home, get ice cream, get chocolate, and
Yeah.
we have. I mean, we just took it completely not seriously and very little instruction. I have. Oh, by the way, I have a YouTube of her first, I think, 6 years in golf.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah,
Like
it's up there. You should see from age of two where she misses the ball, spins around, hits the bucket of balls. I thought that was awesome. It's like hit something, and she just got better. But I taught her the same way I teach all my kids, which very little instruction, cool stuff with goofy drills that are designed to teach golf skills without such conscious attention,
mm.
right? So we use some motor learning science in there and some brain science, and then she just got better and better. And then my wife said, "Okay, man, you have to back off," because I was like, "Okay, look at if you want to play golf in college, you're gonna have to start working at it." And my daughter, that's the wrong thing to say to her. She's going the opposite way.
Uh-huh.
So my wife said, "You got to back off, man." And then it was she played junior PGA Junior League golf like in seventh grade. Yeah, with my boy that I taught, another Nick, Nick Gross, who
Mm.
turned out to be quite special, and he got her into it. Then it was eighth grade summer, and she played. So she skipped pretty much all of junior golf. Other than that, she didn't play the U.S. kids and stuff. Just wasn't into it. And then she goes into eighth grade, ninth grade. She cannot wait because she wants to be part of a team.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they have a team, and so we start practicing in earnest that summer, and we would spend till dark, all on the golf course. Terribly little range, right? Terribly little range. Uh, Golf instruction in vivo, so to speak, in the real thing. She learned to
Yeah.
hit shots, you know, and mind you, she's played three tournaments officially up to that point, and she comes in. And it's the night before, and she's all very worried about tryouts. And she goes, "I just know I'm going to shoot 90 tomorrow."
That's what she
And I
says.
go, "Yeah," that's she says. I go in front of her mother, "Mare, you take that effing driver and send it. Hit it as hard as you can. And I want you to try to hold out every single approach shot." Now,
Okay.
that's good strategy, right? But I wanted aggressiveness.
Mm.
Just go ahead and give it hell.
Mm.
In fact, our man Schreiber That's what JJ spawned. Just go give it hell. And
Hmm.
she went and shot even par and
Wow.
beat all the boys and girls. And then that year, people are going, "Who is this kid?"
Mm.
Because she goes, mind you, very little experience in tournament golf. She goes in and she qualifies for in our district, like our district, like California. If you don't shoot 75, you don't get past the first stage of golf. So you have to golf your ball. And she does that and she goes out and she just misses a putt at the regional term to go to states as a freshman, just over the edge and shoots one over par on a good golf course, and then goes out and finishes fifth in states. So unbelievable. She first ball at states, right? She steps up and just hammers it down the middle, hits a wedge to like here and makes the putt. I'm like, damn, this kid cannot be related to me. I'd have chosen that one. So it was really cool. And then she just kind
Yeah.
of took off from there
Yeah.
and then became a real golfer. She unfortunately, the COVID recruiting killed her
Yeah.
when all the
That'd be
kids got
tough.
their extra years.
Yeah.
Yep. But she got to 66 in her class, which I think is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And she went to William and Mary, wanted to transfer, end up at Delaware, where she's super happy.
Mm.
And 4.0 student. She had two second places and one third place this year. And she's studying biology.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
yeah,
That's,
she's studying on the airplane, and she's something else, and we still get along really good. She finally had me caddy for her last summer, and she's over here. She got her arm around me. She goes, "This is awesome." I'm like, dude, I know how to caddy. I know what I'm doing, but she wouldn't let me because to your point, you were going to say,
yeah.
well, how did you handle it? And um, she made a deal with me. She goes, I want you to be my dad, not my coach. And I
Mm.
go, Mayor, we have a problem with that because I have killed myself to know what I know,
Yeah.
and I'm the person I trust most with your golf game. So we made a deal. She goes, okay, I have to ask you for help before you give it. And I said, good, done. But if I see something getting out of whack, I get one strike, one preemptive strike against something getting out of hand. And we shook on it, and it's been that way now for, I guess, high school. So it's 4, 5, 6 years of her golf career. And the kid's good. She's just good. She's just something in her hands. But I think that's from the way that we did it. There's something in her hands. I just got to get locked in. And
Hmm.
then she goes it. I watched my own kid hit 17 greens at Valhalla.
Yeah. You told me about that. That's impressive.
Nuts.
Wow.
Nuts. That
Right.
was, oh, I didn't tell you that she shot 88 the first day. She
Oh
shot a
wow.
million the first day. Got all nervous in front of the coach,
Hmm.
not me, but the college coach, and just lost it. And then came back and shot three over the second day at that
So
golf
did
course.
you talk to her after that 88? Did you have
Yeah,
a conversation?
no. Yes, no. Um, she comes off the green. She birdied the last hole, comes right here, and just starts bawling her eyes out.
Mm.
Right. And all I said was, I'm so sorry that that had to happen to you today. Um, I'm just proud of you for giving me your best effort, which she did. The kid is what we call effing relentless. She just keeps coming,
Yeah.
but she lost it. She thought she had blown her chance to play golf for college. And the coach had said something good. Tell her it's okay to play bad in front of the coach. And the next day he watches 9 holes where she is just purifying it. And he
Hmm.
goes, tell your daughter. And I did actually tell it to her during the round. Coach says he's seen everything he needs to see. And that was it for that for her college recruiting. But it's one of those things where it's you know your kid is going to go out there and hit some great shots and hit some bad shots.
Yeah.
And if I've got the proper effort, now I want good decision making, damn it, that we have control over.
Yeah.
I want great, excellent resilience, right? Never give up till it's over. And if they do that, what more can I ask?
Hmm.
And I would encourage all of our parents out there, if your kid has the guts to get out there and fight it out in the golf tournament. I mean, it's only golf, but it's instantly on the internet now and social media what they shot, and they have the courage to go out there and do that. That alone deserves celebration, right? And by the way, just so you know, look, your parents, please listen to this. Your kid does not control what he or she shoots. Sorry. Don't you wish? Don't you wish you could control what you shoot? They can't even control the golf swing. They kind of have some control of the golf swing. They can't control the golf ball, and they sure as hell can't control their score.
Their outcomes.
You can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
Just what you put into it.
Yeah.
You know, I just think that what happened last weekend with JJ Spawn was like the greatest, in a way, the greatest thing ever. That guy got punched in the mouth,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And he just hung in there. Now I know that you heard it too. That that Schreiber said something to him, I believe.
Well, the
Like,
rain delay, right? So I don't
yeah,
know.
rain
Yeah.
delay.
Did you? I saw the playback of Como and him doing the little IG live. Did you see that?
Ah, good. No,
Yeah.
no.
I had a break today and I was watching it, and then he said, "Yeah, the rain delay was the best thing that happened to me," and I went and had a talk with him and basically put my foot up in his ass. That's what he
Yeah,
said.
right.
Stripes.
Yep.
And I think the only thing he kind of shared was he said, "Hey, at the beginning of the week, if you told us we were four back with 10 to play, we'd probably take it,
Yeah,
right?" And he's like,
right.
"Let's just get back in there and let's fight it out."
Yeah. So
Man, he
you
did.
gotta nothing has anybody ever done anything steering the golf ball and trying not to make mistakes. Right?
No,
Has anybody ever gotten anywhere to do that? You got to
no,
go give it hell. But if you can't accept that you don't have complete control, you're gonna have a problem. You'll
yeah,
never play freely. You have to just go give it hell, and we'll cry later. Oh, that's I also told Mary Grace that in high school tryouts. If you don't go away, we'll cry. We'll cry later, right?
it's
But we're gonna go
fantastic.
give it hell first.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I was interested in most was like the discussions and the conversations you have after a tough day, whether it's you having a tough day on the lesson tee with her, right? Because I know we've had plenty, me and Nick,
Yeah,
it's been a while, but there's been times, where just like any other student, things don't go well. Then you got to go
yeah,
home with them.
right.
Then you got to see mama, and then she takes care of it.
Oh, mom's
But
always on her side, though. It's
of course, she should be. But yeah, that's funny that you say that about you know all the work that we've put in to our careers. It's tough. It's like it's not a normal situation where like the dad wants to be the coach. It's like we're actually coaches. We're actually pretty good at what we
right,
do, right? It's like you don't just want to hand them off to anybody.
right,
And sometimes they don't understand that because they just look at us as dad. And if there's
right.
not a better option, then they need to understand that.
Yeah. There, there- and I think if you make a deal with them, then that's okay. But that
Yeah,
said, I would say that the normal parent who doesn't do what we do for a living, trying to coach their kid, or God forbid, 10 handicap golfer, I think in me and Jason's world, 10 handicap means you have figured out which end of the club to hold.
exactly. Yeah, it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Right. Teaching your kid golf like that, you know, that's going to be a real hard ask, right? When you don't understand the ball flight cause and effect to begin with,
Yeah.
golly. And the idea that could you imagine if your kid was afraid of what you were going to say to him when he went out there and shot an 80? How's that kid? If that kid's out there supposed to be golfing her or his ball, and he's looking back here at what's dad's response going to be to that shot,
Yeah.
how is that kid ever going to see how good he can get? And the thing is, if you're really hard on them, you can get them in that 10, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old golf, most likely,
Hmm.
because that's just damn near time.
Yeah.
But when it starts to mean something and the kid is afraid, you got a problem. You
Yeah.
got a real
You're
problem.
doing a disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Going back to your presentation, you were talking about that, and like you've got to really incredible way of like showing how passionate you are about your kids. You know, I'm talking about your students. You know, all the juniors you work with and all the college kids you work with, but also conveying that to the parents
Hmm.
in a pretty forceful way. But like you're
Some,
showing them also that you love, you know, that you love their kid, right? It's like
yeah.
talk about some of the ways you've handled tough parents.
There, well, okay. So my first one is one of my favorites is when you got your kid into sports, what did you hope they'd get out of it? Right? Most people would say, well, I hope he would have some fun, make some friends, be a better athlete, and cool. All right. When you got him into golf, what were you hoping they'd get? Like world class golf? Probably not. But maybe love the game, maybe play with their own sweet dad, right? Which is one of that's we did it this week.
Yeah.
Greatest thing in the world playing with my kid, right? Sometimes we hold hands walking down the fairway. That is a deal, right? And next year she gets to have a beverage with me on the golf course.
Mm,
That's going to be fun. We'll stop for margaritas. We're going to train this kid up properly.
that's
Well,
right.
well, so you want the best for your kid. And I know that most of our parents do want the best. They might not have done some research on how to actually achieve such a thing. But my next question is, well, when did you lose your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it used to be about this fun and stuff, and now all of a sudden your kid makes a three putt and you're throwing stuff back here. You
Yeah.
know you've seen it.
Yeah. Or you're making
You know
bad, yeah,
you've right.
facial expressions and or walking
Yep.
the next hole or whatever.
Like this.
Yeah. Body language.
Right, right. So I I try to keep my hands behind me. Now there was a tournament that she was playing in, and it was a really hard par three up the right hand side, right on the so it's fringe, this much rough raw water, 185-yard par three, right? And it's green, slope, trees. So it's a almost a make or miss affair. She hits the green and bounces into the water. And my first reaction is, oh my God, I cannot believe she hit that ball there. Now, no outside reaction,
Yeah.
but I also know I don't know whether she was trying to hit it at the flag, which that would make me unhappy,
Right.
or she was trying
Bad
to hit.
management.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't get mad at her because guess what? 185 yards, hitting the golf ball 7 yards to the right. Is that a bad shot?
No.
No, no. And then she makes triple bogey, just makes just a mess of a hole. She gets on the next tee box. She just hammers this drive straight down the middle. She hits it to like 8 feet, makes it, and she walks off the green. And I'm there and I go, Dunigan, you are fucking relentless. I love that about you. But that's like,
Yeah.
how do you not celebrate that? She wasn't hanging her head.
Yeah.
Her dad's club would have been in the pond.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And then like, the whole thing is that you have to you can't just praise the outcome. You have to praise the effort and the attitude. Do you have attitude or attitude? You know what an attitude is, right? Shitty attitude. So, that's the stuff that you praise. And again, it's because you don't control the outcome, and
That's
everybody
right.
thinks they do.
Yeah.
That's a farce. So you'll never play freely if you think you are really in control. But if you can go, look it, something's going to happen, and I'm just going to go every single shot. We call it win every shot. Every single shot, give it hell, do the best I can, and make my adjustments on the fly. That's it's not just best effort; it's making adjustments on the fly as necessary. Then you've won. I don't care if you came in last. That's all I hope for. At some point, we have to realize that what is it? What is that? I said it to somebody today. The best plan fails at first contact with the enemy. The best battle plan,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
I that's really how it is. Like Harry Potter, right? We plan, we get there, all hell breaks loose.
That's right.
That would be
Voldemort shows
golf.
up.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Sounds like you've done a lot of either reading or have you spent any time with Dr. Pryor, Raymond Pryor?
No, I have not, but
Because he
I've
uses free, he uses a lot of that language, giving yourself permission to play freely.
right, right. And
It's
I
really
think he's
good.
fantastic, by the
Oh yeah,
way.
yeah,
I think he is. His book is a must read.
yeah.
Um,
I'm in the middle of it right now.
good.
It's awesome.
I've been studying sports psychology since age of 16. I'm almost 60.
Yeah, I
Right.
know
I,
you're very well
it's
read, and like
it's been a while.
people don't realize it was funny. Tyler, one of our head professionals, just saw him today for the first time since the workshop. He was I think he was gone for a few days, and the first thing he said to me was, he goes, "John Dunigan, like that guy was awesome." And I go, "What did you like about him?" He goes, "You can tell he was really really smart, but he kind of plays it down." Right, to like make himself look like he's not. And I said, trust me, like the books. I mean, we've talked about this. Some of the books that you've read that like not normal teaching professionals read.
No,
Right. So
no.
talk a little bit about some of that because I know we're going to get into the motor learning stuff and how you've kind of shifted
Right.
your style, I guess, of how you coach.
Yeah.
But
So
what are some of those books that you?
well, anything you could find in motor learning
Mhm.
science, though there's some stuff out there that is very not correct. So you gotta, like I'm, I am a bit of a pain in the ass, and I'll read the research setup. Like I'll read the whole thing, not the abstract, and go. So one of my favorite thing is when you're reading this stuff, you got to go. Okay, yeah, what's missing?
Hmm.
Right? What's actually missing? There was one that Raymond talked about, and it was the quiet eye research. And I actually messaged Chase, who's a good friend for a long time. I said, yeah, when you make three egregious errors in your research study, I think I have to throw the whole damn thing out. And he's like, well, but like my daughter, who I love, they're at they're at team practice, and this is exactly a point. We're talking about quiet eye research, where the golfer, the professional golfer's eyes settle quietly for three times longer than the normal person. And I'm like, okay, what's missing? My daughter says, right, this is I'm so proud. See, the team is like, yeah, but they're not telling us what they're paying attention to. So you have no clue to say that, okay, you need to keep your eyes quiet. You don't know that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, my eyes settle because she was taught that as she's focusing on the picture in her head,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That's where her attention really is. I don't, but they didn't even bother to ask that question.
Hmm.
That to me, that's a major omission from the research.
Intent is 9/10 of the law.
Yes, brother. That's
Right?
one of my favorite ones.
I know.
So I'm studying right now a book on brains, and it's so hard because I'm so dumb. But like today was a really the last couple. I have to reread and reread and reread.
Hmm.
I'm listening to one of the books. I just finished Live Wired again, which is about brain. David Eagleman is a hero of mine. Never met him, but he's a hero of mine. And I finished that one again, and now I have to go buy the real book instead of listening to it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I can take better notes. But I'm listening to Incognito, and that was one of the books in the yellow book I had talked about.
Yeah.
That book in the first two chapters will just change your life as a golf teacher because it's about how this stuff actually happens.
Yeah. That's on my list for sure. That was the one you mentioned
Yeah.
in your talk,
That
right?
that idea
Yeah.
of the iceberg, right?
Share
10%
that.
out of the water,
Yeah.
90% below the surface. The 10% we call the conscious, and we give it all the credit while 90% of the brain is below the surface, and that the conscious mind sets the goals. I
Hmm.
did this just today. I said, okay, I need you to boy, I was hitting it off the heel, off the heel, off the heel. It wasn't time yet because we were working on swing shape. But then we go, okay, now we got the swing shape and we're repeating some shape. Now let's hit it on the toe. And he goes, how? I go, I don't know. Hit the toe,
Yeah.
right? And he hits the toe. And I go, how'd you do that? He goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, here's the problem. You can't know. It's
I love it.
that's not knowable,
Yeah.
right? You just do it. And I said, here,
Yeah.
put your arm up,
Yeah.
put it up here,
Yeah.
put it down here.
Yeah.
I said, how'd you do that? Right? And we're
Hand-eye
trying,
coordination, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's like it's hard to describe.
yeah, it's real hard.
People look
I
at you
got,
like you're crazy,
yeah, I
because
got
they
a
want
new
to know
one
the
for you.
why, right? I mean, they
Yeah,
want to know like all the
yes,
details of like how you
right,
moved, and sometimes it's or you need that, but let them explore a little bit, right?
right, right. So one of the things, here's a new phrase for you. This is new to me, about learning is if you go back to, I did mention prosthetic legs and stuff like that, right?
Mm,
So, you know, Will said that he's talking to one guy and he goes, yeah, no, it feels like me, except on the days that it doesn't fit right. Then it doesn't feel like me.
mm.
Well, there's another concept called motor babbling. So when a baby babbles with words, right? The same thing they're doing, they poke themselves in the eye, right? They're just exploring the perceptual motor workspace, right? And they're just, their brain is learning,
Mm.
right? And I think that's one of the things that, for instance, Mary Grace did in golf. Rather than teaching her how to or even what to do, I just had her babble with the golf club.
You
That's
showed
very
her how to put her
interesting.
hands on it, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
like
no,
you
we
had. I
did
mean, I know you did more instruction. You're probably like letting on. You had to
very little
teach her how to
actual instruction.
stand some way. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, but
hold
you
it
know how I
some
did it
way.
though? Yeah, I so she had it like this,
Yeah.
like I believe all kids should.
Split hands. Yeah.
Split hands, all hockey grip,
Mm-hmm.
because the club's heavy to turn around,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and I never had her put them together. She just did it. But the most what I did was she'd copy me,
Mm. Okay.
right? So if I'm
Yeah.
teaching her a dress position, I don't teach a dress position. If you can see me, all right, that's a dress position.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I teach a dress position. I don't tell them, bend this way and stuff like that and all, all that stuff.
Mm.
And they'll pick up on it like we're wired to pick up on,
Yeah.
right? We're wired for that kind of stuff. So if you get them young enough, you can do that. Now, what you and I also have to do is go over if people have some very, 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 very damaging concepts, like Mrs. Haverkamp said, I'm trying to get under the ball so I can lift it up. And
Yeah.
well, we have a flawed concept that's going to hurt your progress in golf.
Right.
So, and I did explain to her why the ball goes. Like she could probably give you the ball flight laws without question, but like she was playing golf, and this is how I would prefer it. She hits the first two drives in the right rough, and then she hits every fairway after that. And I said, well, "What'd you do different?" She goes, "I hit it lefter." Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah. Didn't really know why. I mean, again, it's like
yeah,
there's two sides of that,
yep. I could
but
explain to her all the hows and whys of it,
right.
or just hit it over there more. I
Yeah.
did that with a no, very good golfer. Like, I just want you to swing the club over that way more. And all of a sudden, the ball flight shrunk
Mm.
and went much straighter.
Yeah.
I didn't explain how. Now, you and I can get into the hows very easily. That is
Yeah.
not a problem. But
Yeah.
when I'm getting into the hows, that is my cause of last result.
Mm.
Last resort. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to get it. I'm going to start the teaching part of it. I'm going to focus on the learning part of it. I'll
Mm-hmm.
start the me teaching part only when I have to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. There's Nick when he started when he was little. He started cow-handed,
Yeah.
and other parents or I had him in our clinic, so I was at the golf school at the time. So it was kind of I'm like, yeah, just let him go. And then at some point I wanted to change it, but he had to like want to do it on his own.
Right.
So, because he could hit it. I mean, he's a good athlete. He kind of pretty good hander, right? It's like
Right.
you're not going to tell. He's like, why do I need to change that? This is pretty good. And
Yeah.
finally, on his own, when he was practicing on his own, he switched it around because he was probably copying what he saw everybody else doing, right? And
Yeah.
myself, we play. And then he's like, yeah, Dad, your grip's a little bit better. I think I'll stick with that.
I
He was
have
like
done
6 years
that.
old or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've done that with little kids. I just show them pictures. Well,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like. And it's easier to get buy-in, especially with your own kid.
Oh,
Show 'em somebody great, right?
it's
Uh,
100% with mine. Yeah, he's asked. I
yeah.
mean, you can tell him, and he has about 2 or 3 day like delayed auto recall where he's like, "Ah, I got it." I'm like, "What?" And he'll tell me like, "Yeah, pretty sure I told you that a couple days ago." Um, oh yeah, yeah, I forgot. So, but I mean, it's like he owns it a lot more now. Obviously, he's older,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
very curious how often my kid says something that I thought she did completely blew off.
Yeah,
Right? And then she'll say something I'm like, and not only that, but it's verbatim.
right.
It's like, whoa, that's cool. So it's
Yeah,
good. So
it's
I wouldn't change it for the whole world. Um, it the only the only time it would get hard is when I would get more involved in the outcome. You know what I mean? The
yeah.
performance.
Well,
But the
we're human, man. It's like that's
yeah,
I mean, I give talks and I used to do like little college prep, workshops or whatever, and
nice.
I said right up front, I'm a much better junior golf coach than I am a junior golf dad. Because it's like it's tough to separate.
Yeah.
We try not to make the mistakes. We think, oh, my kid's not looking at me, because he knows better. You know what I mean? Like they're different than any other kid.
Mm.
And my wife would be like, her phrase was "fix your face, fix your face." So,
I got to meet this lady.
oh yeah, and I never, I'm trying to be,
Hmm.
whatever, and then she's like, "Fix your face." So yeah, we make the same mistakes that the parents do, but we know, like, at least cognitively
Right.
what we're not supposed to do as a parent. But yeah, I always had trouble with that post round talk because I wanted to be the coach. I wanted to be like, "Hey, tell me about what happened on 14," and
Oh,
it's way too soon. I figured that out
yeah.
pretty quickly. It's way too soon, and it would be another day
What
later,
I
and
would
then
do,
they would come back. Then he would come to me and like, "Hey, let's talk about it." So
right? Perfect.
mm,
So there was when Mary would play and I would get to watch, and I didn't always get to watch, but when I got to watch, I'd be having my notes. The only thing, I swear to you, the only thing I would do is go over the good shots,
mm,
right?
good for you.
I
I
I
couldn't do
know, I know.
that.
Well, I know I'm
Yeah,
gonna get to whatever corrections we have to make. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But after the fact, just go over. So an example of that is the filing cabinet of great shots, right? So Mary's playing with Nick Gross over here. Cross Street is my club, Kennett, which I love. And the 18th hole has a very steep slope up, par five. I did watch her hit that in two in a tournament, which I was very impressed. Because it's only like maybe 10 yards between the giant face bunkers. She just rolled right at the middle of that. But she hits the front of the green, it rolls back down, and she takes out a pitching wedge, hits it right into the face of the wall, pops it up 3 feet, doink, makes par. Big
Wow.
smile. So I was caddying for her last year, and she hit this drive. I didn't think she could get to the green. I think she could fly this fairway bunker, monster drive, and then she hits a green, hits over this bunker, slides that into a fairway bunker near the green, but it's 40-yard shot. So it's kind of like a kind of fair, kind of green side, but one of those nasty ones.
Mm-hmm.
Again, giant slope. And she hits it out, right? And it rolls back down. I'm like, shit. And then I go, yo, this is exactly like that shot on 18 at Kennett. And she goes, yeah. Boink. Hits it to like here, makes a par.
Wow.
But that's
Recall.
the yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
so cool.
filing cabinet of great shots. I
Mm,
love that.
that's so
And then
cool.
and then what we'll get to the corrections, right?
Yeah.
There was one time I said something very mean. It was at Pinehurst, and she goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, I think that was horrible." And I said, "But let me tell you why. Is because you kept flaring the ball to the right, and I saw no adjustment whatsoever."
Mm.
You didn't name left to play for it, and you didn't shut the face. And you know she hasn't had a path problem since she was born, right? So you know it was face, and you didn't adjust it, and that is not allowed, right? Because right, best effort,
So you have told her the how and a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a so you know when the face, yes. So definitely,
After
like we
so
talked
many
about
of the
club
same pattern,
face,
right? I mean, you got to
right?
tell them
Yeah,
something.
you absolutely have to make an adjustment,
Right.
or you don't qualify as a golfer
Hmm.
because it just doesn't go your way all the time. And the club face, I mean, I'm not telling you anything. The club face is the least stable component of a golf swing.
Right.
People's body movement is staggeringly consistent. Their club face is all hell over the place,
Hmm.
but they move the way they move. Even sucky golfers repeat their suckiness very well.
Yeah, they're very consistent.
Yeah. So there were times when we definitely, like, she knows that she's better off keeping the face facing the ground at first parallel, which is wrong. I don't, I don't care, right? When it's like this, I hit it really good.
Yeah.
And then she got into a little thing where she started opening it,
Hmm.
and I would say, okay, there's my preemptive strike. But she gets it. Like she gets it. She can actually write her stuff in the middle of tournament rounds of golf like a champ, which is that was the whole design.
Oh,
But if
heck
it's
yeah.
always
That's all you can
if
ask
it
for.
yeah, right. What else can you ask for?
Yeah.
Give it hell, make adjustments on the fly.
I was looking at a few of her videos before in prep for this conversation. Yeah. Looked like she's got a pretty high right trail forearm. I mean, the
Yeah.
camera angle wasn't great. Is that she always
Right.
kind of set up like that?
No, she changed that to fix. She was hitting it left,
Okay.
and she had moved her left hand way over. Way like I was like, mm, mm. Change your left. I'm like, here's a video. There's your old left hand grip when you couldn't miss,
Mm-hmm.
and here it is over here. She got like 16 knuckles showing over here. So she fixed her right hand grip.
Yeah.
So there, yeah, it looks funky, but yeah, we did move her grip back
Yeah.
to a little more neutral left hand. She's like very interesting because she knows the forces on the golf club. She knows that the driver's resistance. She goes, "Well, I'm going to keep my grip like this on my driver, and I'm going to get a little more neutral on my irons."
Mm.
You can do it that way. You can do it that way. And I gave
Okay.
her some other stuff. So she knows her swing well enough. Um, yeah, so there's definitely been bits of real golf instruction, but like the general movement of her golf swing was built by the about the age of 9,
Mm-hmm.
like built, and she's moved that way ever since. That's why
Hadn't
I
changed that much.
yeah, those little
Yeah.
videos that I showed at those stupid videos, they start creating I call them the number one, twos, and threes. They start creating this motion that the kids will never ever, because it's like the first laid foundation. They never lose it.
It's
Really
like their
cool.
DNA. Yeah.
100%.
That's awesome. So talk a little bit, we could get into your work with Dr. Will Wu for
Ah,
sure of, your motor learning, the Skilled Coaching Alliance. I want you to
yeah.
cover a lot of that stuff, but like take us through like when you started to, I guess, start to acquire information that started transforming the way you coached, right? So it's the way I look at it is sort of the difference between teaching and coaching. I think there
Yeah.
has to be a blend in there, right? But you seem to have gone more into the coaching sort of side of it. But I think explain to the listeners like what does motor learning science mean,
So it's a
right? And then
science of skill acquisition, right? That's it. It covers both learning and performance.
hmm,
One of our cool things is like when a student does better in the lesson, that's performance, not learning, right? I call it obedience, maybe proof of concept. When I do this, it goes better, but learning takes time, right? So
hmm,
that is probably a giant part of that. And I know a lot of my brothers and sisters in golf teaching won't like that, but that's why I don't really show before and afters, right?
hmm,
I
yeah,
don't, because that's, for one, I think that's telling a student, oh, look, you've got it, which we know is not the case,
yeah,
right? So I just don't do it that way. But that's my thing. So what happened was I first got into. Do you remember Chuck Hogan?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Chuck Hogan. I was doing something for the LPGA in Wilmington, Delaware, which is just down the street. Um, I Gosh, that was my first, and you just got to forgive me, it was so long ago now, but that was the first into there's more to this teaching of golf, right? There's something about teaching learning, right? There's teaching golf
Yeah.
swing, which is fine. There's
Yeah.
teaching learning golf swing, which is a whole different realm. I started studying the Schmidt and Risberg textbooks. My wife thinks I'm nuts. It's like you read
That's what I
textbooks
was
for fun.
referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have them. I've been through them more than one or two times. And like it's just really important to me that I could have some actual research groundwork, a basis on why I want to teach.
Hmm.
So then it was the great Dom DeJulia, you know Dom from
Absolutely.
here.
Yep. Very well.
Actually, he's Wilmington, Delaware is like uh, an hour and a half closer to me than Dom is.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, and he's in Pennsylvania too. So Dom had one of my heroes, Rick Jensen,
Hmm.
who sports psychologist, but actually motor learning degree.
Yeah. More performance based coaching,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of how I look at it.
And I
Yeah.
went ballistic.
Hmm.
I mean, I was all over that guy. So that was huge for me. And then I got studied more and more, a little bit of, what golf pro intellect can handle with brain science and start really getting to put it to use. And then the Godfather, Mike Adams,
Mm.
brought um, he and Terry Rolls brought Will Wu. He's a PhD in motor learning science in California. Olympic athletes, professional golfers, right? People who want to get better at stuff. To the Philippines to do a golf school for coaches for like 3 days. I did a just by myself a clinic with 53 kids at the same time.
Oh wow.
Now that was a great aim point green reading conga line. That's how we do it. So and if one kid goes, "This really works, coach." We had so much fun over there. But we're sitting in there and I'm doing stuff on junior golf and Will's doing his stuff. Mark Brody was there. We had Scott Lynn was there from Swing Catalyst.
Hmm.
So Will and I are sitting in the back of the room on a break and we're just like talking. And Scott goes, "Shut up, take the microphones, get on stage, and keep going."
Oh wow.
So we were talking about learning stuff and practice. And we became like instant, super tight friends. And then shortly thereafter, we started. It took 2 years, like this app of ours now. The Skilled Coaching Alliance is a class that uses my 40, it's coming about 44 years of coaching.
Hmm.
And I'm only 25 years old. I've been coaching my entire life since the age of 16. That's how I've supported myself. And so my coaching experience, the stuff that I've learned about how to make connections with people, like I'm pretty good at setting people at ease within a minute. You know,
Yeah.
most people are scared to death, right? I mean, they come see us because you're a famous golf teacher,
Right.
And
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
but I'll put them at ease instantly. So that kind of stuff, like what I know about golf, yes, fine. But Will would put in his motor learning science. So we'd have stuff like one of my favorites is bullshit filters in motor learning, where
Yeah.
he's got you hear this is why it's wrong, and how to really pay attention to making sure you're not being lied to. So we interweave these two things throughout the entire program. It's only program ever given 25 hours of MSRs for the PGA. We've had 180 plus coaches, a whole bunch of top 100. Mark Blackbird mentions it every time he speaks. Isn't that
Oh,
cool?
that's great.
That
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that is a really cool program, because this is my, if you will, gift to the game of golf. I want, I don't care about you. You're doing just fine. Right. But if you're an assistant of yours, or you're teaching and you're struggling to build a business, um, and you know you could teach better, and that would help you build a business. Because we both started with nothing, right?
Yeah.
I started with nothing. Um, you use these principles and this coaching kind of science, and you get people better. You get busier. You can do the Instagram game all you want, but if you don't have the goods when they come to you, you'll be found out quickly.
Right.
I made that for golf pros so that they could what I call do better by doing better. And so it's very important to me. And then the last 2 years, been working on an app for practicing, where you might have Nick on the practice app. I'm not teaching golf swing in that app. That's nothing to do with golf swing. But if you have something that you want Nick to work on, he opens up the app. It's called Practice Coach Golf, and he will go to the Work on My Swing module, where we have some of Will's motor learning magic for the sequence of
Voodoo.
speed. Yeah. The speed at which you do it, the exaggeration
Hmm.
amount, you'll change clubs, you'll change speeds. And so we say, all right, you better be sure you want to learn it, because we're going to teach you how to do it real good.
Hmm.
Right. And then there's the other practicing of the skills that we definitely need. And I would ask my kids at first, before we had this thing out, well, how often do you practice like this? And they go, never. Like,
Yeah.
do you think it would help you to practice like this better? Yes. And it's impossible for me, being you know how busy we are.
Yeah.
I can't write out. I was doing written out practice plans for people,
I
and they're only
can't do
good
it.
for a week, man. They're only
Yeah.
good for a week,
Yeah.
and then I got to redo it with all those people. So now we have an app that does it for us. And that's like he and I are at this point brothers. We're family, and it's really cool because now he's got kids that are coming up, like his son Kingston.
Hmm.
I've worked with uh, for 5 years, and now I consult because John Ray Leary is one hell of a coach out there
Yeah, I
in
know
that
John.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that guy,
I do too.
and his son has gotten really good.
Yeah,
Uses
I've seen
practice
him,
coach.
his
Yeah,
videos. Yeah,
it's
kid's good.
and some of his kids are now using the practice coach, and they're getting better. All I care about is getting better. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying. I feel like if somebody throws something at you and me, new about a golf swing, that would be earth shattering.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't think you're going to surprise us with anything about a golf swing. But if we can make our people practice better so that they play better when it counts, we have done something really, really good. And that
So
goes for now coaches and players.
yeah, I mean to be, to be a little more specific, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
don't want to give all your secrets away, but like application is
Right.
big, right? It seems to me like it's very close to what we'd call constraints led learning. Would that be fair? As far as like you're using the environment, and it's
That,
more external than it is internal, and we can kind of get into, because I want to get into like how you train your
right.
players, and like,
Okay.
but is that close? You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen
Well,
your videos where you're putting like a alignment stick out in front. I use that goalpost drill pretty much every day, right?
tons. Yep. So
So
that's
it's just,
that's a task constraint. I would tell you that most of what you and I do for a living is constraint led coaching.
yeah, I agree.
Right. It's a with because if we have a task for people, that's a constraint. It's given by the coach, but it's a task constraint. You have environmental constraints. That's where I use the uneven lie station. Like I had a
Hmm.
guy, adult golfer, and he has a flat shoulder turn, right? And he's wearing a perfectly like striped shirt. Can't bet. I go, okay, your stripes are here. You need to get your stripes more this way. Coach constraint.
Uh-huh.
I go, wait a minute, come out here. I want to show you something. I go, I have an uneven lie station outdoors, and I put the ball below his feet. Now that's an environmental constraint,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So now I've changed the surface of the world so that if he has a flat shoulder, he's got no hope of hitting this golf ball. right? And then I explained to him, now this what we're doing. Well, you get onto a downhill lie like below your feet lie like this, a downhill lie or ball in heavy rough, and you don't have enough shoulder tilt. It's gonna be a long day.
Hmm.
So explain the utility of such a thing, but also so he go flat on the backswing, and he goes, I always have this move where I kind of go over the top. I go, I'm not sure you go over the top. It looks like it,
Hmm.
right? But we're gonna go like this. And I gave him a it's like a long kettlebell called a Weck Method Club. And I said, okay, go down and pick this baby up. Okay. Now kind of throw it up that way. And then we look at the golf swing, right? So we changed very simply using external cues. So internal cue is me telling you, I want you to externally rotate your trail shoulder.
Right.
You've heard it, folks, you have heard that a million times. Well, Dunigan would say, yo, hold up this pizza tray over like this.
So
I hold
using
it.
more of an example or a metaphor that they can relate to would be
Perfect,
a
perfect.
different way.
But
Okay. Yeah.
it's not body part related,
Hmm.
right? So it's you and don't forget now, the science would say that internal cues, body focused cues do work. They're just a lot slower and a lot
Hmm.
less effective than
Yeah.
external cues, right? The internal does work,
Hmm.
but there's the you really want to know, it's called the constrained action hypothesis. Educated guess that when you focus on the body part, you'll get that movement, but your brain will sort of put the lockdown around the surrounding body parts, so the movement is less fluid and
Okay.
effective. So
Yeah.
so if I say hold up the pizza tray, I'm getting external rotation of the trail shoulder for free. You with me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
So
I'm with
that's
you. I think, I mean, that's where I'm kind of a chameleon as far as like how and when I give that different type of instruction,
yeah,
like, kind of throwing it against the wall. A lot of times I'll tell
right.
people, and, does and I know you're kind of in this camp is like getting the club, getting the tool to do
Oh
something
yeah,
different,
yeah,
and allowing the body and like sort of the proximal segments to organize itself around that. Like I've always
yeah.
kind of go there first. A lot of times, especially with our member golfers, but even with good players, I think sometimes it can be
I love it.
effective. Yeah.
Yeah, so the guy returns to same distance, less clubhead speed, but he goes, this is way effortless,
Right. It's easier.
way effort. And then I see it hits, I'm like, wow. And it was really kind of cool because it was like an eye-opening uh, occurrence for him, which is really cool. But then we looked at his before and after videos, right? And you could see the high shoulder. Brain goes, yo, I can't see his ball. And you tip down this way
Yeah.
to reach it, right?
Yeah.
Then you get the shoulder down here and up this way, which is, again, we used, well, the shirt um, stripes,
Hmm.
right? We used the heavy thing, this and that up the wall. And it was just like, awesome difference in how he would come over the top and get it to be under a little bit late. Um, and now he got it there without. He had been trying to get the club down. He tried to playing at the downswing with his hands.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, but if your body moves this way, I don't care what you're trying to do with your hands.
Mm,
That's not. It's not gonna. It's not. You can't.
mm.
You're the big muscles going 6 miles an hour are much easier to control. So that was kind of cool. And
Yeah.
that's the external versus internal.
Yeah.
So I will go internal whenever I have to. I mean, it does work,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
I've got to be in trouble there. I can't get this person to do it.
Right.
Then I
It's
might
like you got
go.
to have the tools, right? I mean, like, then
Right.
you're just sort of like, okay, you got to eventually,
Yeah.
they're not getting it. You got to have some kind
Right.
of
Right.
solution to fix the problem or improve the
Right.
golfer.
And then we do
Love that.
use the Goldilocks
Hmm.
method,
Yeah. Explain
right?
that. I
Which
think that's
is
fantastic. I love that with wedges, by the way. And
yeah.
I also, I mean, not to cut you off, but like what you were talking about, and this has sort of led me down that constraints led learning or an exploration is like when you said the kid's hitting it in the heel, and you go, okay, hit it in the toe, right? What does that feel like? or how did you do it? And like sometimes you don't need to know, right? You just have
Right.
to change the concept and the intent, and then like the body, he had to do something different,
Right.
right? He had to do something different. I was interesting. I heard Bryson DeChambeau talking about that in one of his YouTube videos, how he concludes every practice by hitting 5 shots off the toe, 5 shots off the heel, and then 5 shots out of the middle.
Hmm.
Isn't that brilliant? Right? And they say he's
Brilliant.
just a technical science guy. That's so far from whatever that
Yeah.
style is. So yeah, explain how you use the Goldilocks.
So Goldilocks method, it's too hot, too cold, just right. Now, with a lesser, I wouldn't do this to Nicholas. You're Nick.
Hmm.
I wouldn't do this to him because he's too good. For him, I would do ideal, a little more than ideal, a little bit more than ideal.
Hmm.
Like, right? But for a normal person, and folks, Nick is not normal. For a normal golfer or junior golfer, I would go ideal, more than ideal. Uh, Try 1% less than ideal, like a 1% of the old swing, so that they can actually bring what I call a bigger divide between good and evil.
Hmm.
Doing it wrong. I got that 100 million years ago from Jack Nicklaus. Every once in a while, I would throw in the wrong move just so I could keep that feel super clear, which I think was genius. That's where I came up with that idea when Jack Nicklaus told us all.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
what's the science? Like, can you explain the science
ah.
behind that? Right? It's
So
like why is
your
that important?
brain,
Because it's tough to um, sell that to the player a lot of times. For our members, and like you got somebody hitting it to the right, and like okay, we're gonna hit some balls to the left,
yeah,
and they're like, why? That's no good. And I'm like, well, because I always explain it. I'd say the Goldilocks, but I'm always like, all right, in order for you to know what middle feels like, you need to explore
right.
both sides. But what's the science behind that?
You need guardrails. Here's your road, right? So let's say that the ball is going too far right all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right, you know what this one is, but you don't really know what this one is to get to here. But everybody wants to just go here. But your brain needs these data points. It needs this data point, but it needs this left data point as well, because that is how your brain is putting this stuff together, is by the slight, well, might be not slight in the ball flight outcome, because 4 degrees is a lot. Um, but you need both sides of that because your brain is going to compare them, right? And your brain will learn for you. But then what you people who play golf do is, so I got a guy who's got a career slice, club golf, a career slice, and it's not a good slice. It's like a career
off
banana ball.
off the golf course slice.
And I go, young man, we're about to hit the Dunigan poop hook. All right. And I get him to poop hook it. That means hook the poop out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, that's no good either. I go,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. That's what we call super good. When you do the right thing so good that it's bad, it's actually super good. And
I
now we're going to
love
just
that.
we're going to titrate back and forth, just like learning to walk. But see what happens, these adult people think they're smart because they're old,
Yeah.
right? Well, I understand what you want me to do. I should be able to do it. Good luck with that, right? It's a motor skill, man,
Yeah.
not an intellectual endeavor at all.
I
So
love it.
the way you when you're a little kid, you fell over this way, you fell over this way, and your brain, that's the mode of babbling. Your
Mm.
brain is learning from this and this. Then you only try to hit it right. You're not getting enough variability to actually learn anything. This is where you can have a great practice session and get worse on the golf course and learn
Yeah,
anything.
absolutely.
I hope that answered your question.
No, yeah, it does. I mean, I think, and that's again one of those where you have to have some information on why. We know,
Right.
like logically, it makes sense to me. Like, do
Right.
something different, right? It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
why do you want to keep hitting it to the
Right.
right, and then just continuing to do the same thing, right? It's like learn something, the pieces
Right.
that make it go left,
Yeah.
whatever that is, and then eventually
And
we'll make it go straighter, which we're not going to make it go
yes.
straight, but we're going to make it, the curves
Straightish.
manageable. Yeah, straight-ish. There you go.
Yeah, straight-ish,
Yeah.
drawerish. It's
Exactly.
the idea. And I had another person. Well, I'm trying to hit the ball straight. And I go, well, how that's going for you? Right, the ball's going all the hell over the place. Uh,
Exactly.
Like straight shot freaks me out. I don't mind draws. I don't mind fade, but trying to hit it straight, my stress level goes through the roof. I
Oh,
don't. I know how to miss it straight. I don't know how to hit it straight on purpose. And it's
it,
funny, like on TrackMan, within a couple minutes, my face to path falls apart. I'm trying to hit it dead straight.
oh,
It
sure.
is. Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing. Now, hitting it straight on purpose as part of Goldilocks, that's good.
Yeah.
Insisting on it straight when you're playing for real and there's, water over here, right? That's hard game.
Oh, yeah, and it's nice to teach a few decent, players or tour
Right.
players and kind of share their story. I mean, the shot tracer now is amazing, and hopefully, average golfers, member golfers out there are paying attention. How many of those balls are going straight? None. None
None.
of them. None of them.
Damn,
When I
folks.
first started working with McGirt, the first lesson, I always tell this story to something, maybe probably once a day. When I ask, what's the goal? I'm like, I just want to hit it straight. I'm like, that's not the goal. Like,
Yeah.
pick a side. As I said, pro, what do I need to, what do we need to do to get you, where we need to go? And he goes, if you can teach me how, you saw my range has two trees in the middle of the
Hmm.
range. He said, if you can get me to flight it under those trees on the right and hook it around those two trees in the middle of the range, I can win on tour again.
Mm.
And my students are like, what? I'm like, yeah, because if he knows which direction it's going to curve, he can control his golf ball, right? And they don't understand, like when we train, when we practice together, he's a drawer, but has a lot of fade tendencies in his pattern.
Mm.
We try to get the path to 6 or 7 to the right because we know we're going to play at 3.
Yeah.
When the gun goes off, we're going to play at 3.
Right.
But if
So
he's
you
hanging
you
around
do
0, then he's going to
right.
start hitting it both ways, and he's going to be pissed.
Right. So there's Goldilocks, right? I
Right,
go,
exactly.
okay, listen, Goldilocks 1, 2 to 3 path. And those guys are ridiculous. He could probably repeat his path when he's going to within less than a degree,
Yeah,
ball after ball.
right.
But two to three paths. Okay. Drawer. That would be a 3 to 5 path.
Mm-hmm.
And Wombo draw would be a 5 to 7 path, right? And we would titrate between those, and then what happens is for these guys, if you give them what we call a calibrator like that, they will lock onto that so fast, so much faster than this to try to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they try to get it right every time, there's not enough exploring of this versus that, right? But when they go with that's 3, the Goldilocks in that case, and like, oh, you know what? Today's feels more like the Wombo draw, right?
Yeah,
What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing to do.
yeah,
And then they can take that immediately to a golf course and play with it. Now, are you seeing a swing change? Yup.
yeah.
But it's not the swing change, it's the ball flight that's changing the swing in that case, right?
The
It-
intention.
yeah, attention to everything, man. And pay
Intent.
attention to it,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Pay,
I
att-
love that when you said, it's funny how when we say pay attention, it's like pay is the
Hey,
is the
there's a
may
cost,
is the cost yeah, is the cost to actually focus
right?
on what's going on. So let's talk about like ways to train, right? So I think, again, as coaches, we've already discussed a few, internal, external type
Yeah.
solutions to, like, all we're trying to do is get people to move the club differently, move the body differently, and by any means possible, right?
Right.
And it sounds like we're sort of in the same camp as far as like the deep practice, the value of doing sort of rehearsal swings, maybe a little
Hmm.
more exaggerated, a la Justin Rose video that I pull up on the daily,
Right. Right.
and like ramping up speed after we sort of change the motor pattern or get a different feel. Like, explain how you would sort of coach like a good junior player to make a pattern change, and then how, if you can share a little bit about what does that practice what does that practice session look like per se?
Okay, let me take a quick break.
Yeah.
I can't believe this Mac is out of batteries. I'll be right back,
Okay, you're good.
and I'll get to that.
It's all good.
All right, am I back on there?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get a person to make a movement improvement.
Yeah.
Number one is they have to see the value in it. Why do you want to make this improvement?
Okay, so they
Now,
got to know the why.
right, it may be better golf club delivery. It may be improved safety, right? Like I've got some kids that don't turn at all and their hips on the backswing at all, and they have back problems, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to turn their hips more, right? So it's got to have one of those three uses: club delivery, improved health, or the third one is improved speed. Okay, now we decide we're going to change a movement pattern. This is where we get to the external focus. Like, rather than me make it up, give me something you want somebody to do differently in their swing.
Yeah, let's just take the typical, let's say somebody has, like you said, maybe limited pelvis rotation,
Right.
they're lifting their arms, club goes up, and then they, they're trying to rotate coming down, they swing across the ball. Let's say you're trying to fix path and
Okay.
whatever. I mean, there's obviously a lot rolled into that.
There's a
Let's
lot
say you're
there.
trying to pick like a shape change. Let's just say you're trying to make a shape change from out to in, from in to out, to try to create
Okay,
a draw.
good. All right. So we got to make sure all the basics are set. Like a lot of people swing outside in because their club face is too open and they have really, really crappy grips.
Sure.
Right. And folks, listen, if you are listening at this point, those little logos on the grip do not mean put your thumb there, for God's sakes. That's We got to get rid of that. You know those align grips with a line at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Flip it over so the line's on top. Put your thumb on the side of that. You might have you a hell of a training aid, and it's legal to play with. Go
There you go.
figure.
Yeah.
So we check off. We'll always start with setup, and we get to the, oh, well, what are you trying to do? Right? What do
Good
you
question.
actually, what are you intent upon doing during the swing? And they'll tell me something about, well, I'm doing this. I go, no, 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 no. That's before you swing. During the actual swing, where is your attention? Well, I try not to think about anything. Well, that's why you suck, right? What,
Yeah,
what are you
exactly.
trying to do with the golf club?
Just black out.
Because yeah, that's what they're doing. They're just blacking out.
Yeah.
And I gave Charles Barkley that golf lesson, and he didn't hitch for 2.5 straight hours. And I said, Chuck, he goes, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in golf lessons. Nobody's ever said anything other than you do that back here with a practice swing, then you get over the ball and you let it happen. And I said, let it happen is for when you don't suck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So he showed me a beautiful practice. He could do it, right? But he wasn't paying attention to it when it mattered. Go
Mm,
freaking figure.
right.
So I told him, well, I can't help you. God can't help you. You're not even here. So, and I use that on my students all the time. So now, all right, so I want to get this club come from the inside. And let's
Mhm.
say that the person is intent on trying to get it from the inside. They are. Let's say that their grip isn't pure shite.
Mhm.
They can't do it. They can't
Right.
do it.
Yeah,
So
that's what we
now,
want to know.
right. Ooh, in this case, I actually had this lesson today, actually, with a guy that's a nice player and no turn. So I'm gonna give you his lesson, actually, if that's okay,
Yeah,
Ed.
that'd be perfect. Yeah,
So
exactly.
he's swinging 3 degrees to the left, not too much down, and not his normal zippiness on the club, right? Like, come on, Grandpa, swing the thing. And he's got no turn. And when you get to be, in your 60s and you don't turn your pelvis, you got no hope of turning your shoulders
I give
because
that
you
lesson
become a
every
brick.
day. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
So I go and I put, do people just listen to this or do they watch a video, do you think?
Both. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be on YouTube.
All right.
Yep.
So now can you make out this white red stick?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
put this through the front
He's
belt
putting an
loops.
alignment rod through his front loops of his pants.
Ooh, somebody's got to lose a little weight, Jason.
He's struggling.
All right. All right. So there I am now.
Yeah.
And now we've got the club in our hands. So I want this. I don't do a lot of dry practice swings. I do some, kind of
Okay.
get the feel.
Yeah.
I want practice swings. They're all practice swings. We're at practice, aren't we? They're
Yes.
all practice swings. We got to put a ball in the way. So now we've got our man. I'll give one of Mary Grace's clubs. We have got our man going. Okay. Now, here's what you got to do. You have got to get this stick as far behind you. So he was doing this, shifting and then not turning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that to you and me, that's like instant over the top, right? So
Yep.
we go from there, we go, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to swing this stick back. I don't want it to go this way. What bit? Not one bit. I want it to go straight behind you. And
Mm-hmm.
he goes like this. Right. Then I show him the video. Go, ooh, wait, look at that.
Yep.
You just turned a ton more. And then we go next part,
So
right?
you videoed his practice swing, right?
Yep,
So
with a ball in the way even.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah,
Then you can prove to him he can actually do
yep.
it.
So one, he can do it.
Yeah.
I said, did it hurt? Nope.
Perfect.
Cool. It's even better. So
Mm-hmm.
now we go like this. Okay. So we're going to go this way. We're going to turn the stick. Then we're going to take this end and point it out to the second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to turn the stick, point it out, and he starts doing that number. Then all of a sudden, his path goes instantly inside out while still down. Because if I just give him just this part, he might move his low point backward.
Right.
So I give
Yeah.
him
You got
this
to give him pressure
and shift.
shift. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
You're gonna have to go watch the YouTube, but he's describing basically more pelvis turn and then a lateral shift
Yeah.
without turning the hips too early,
Right.
which
Right.
helps the path and also helps the low point move forward.
Yes. And the faster you turn your hips to the left, the more your hips will pull your shoulders will pull your hand path
That's right.
out and over the golf ball.
Preach.
But I've got
Yep.
to get through the golf ball.
Hmm.
That's not getting through the golf ball. That's tomahawk slicing the damn thing.
Absolutely.
So we have the entire golf lesson like that.
Hmm.
And then we go, okay, wait a minute. You're starting to shorten your backswing again. He knows what to do. He's starting to revert. He's
Mm-hmm.
going back to the current pattern, right? So I go, okay, listen, you need to feel like you have to do this, but you have to take an extra 2 seconds on the backswing before you can come down.
Mm. Okay.
And then now he's getting, and then he starts hitting his driver, and he starts hitting his driver really, really good. And that was all the instruction. I charged a poor man for an hour. Right. And that's all I had to do with him. But
Yeah.
it was when I did this, and he felt like the other guy I was talking about the shoulders. He's like, well, but I'm getting this push up vertical force, as we know. I
Yeah.
go, yeah, isn't that cool? We ain't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
you and I get to the root of all evil first, we're going to see some unintended consequences that go our way, right? Because you can, if you pick the wrong thing, you could see some unintended consequences. That's what we're doing. Like
Yeah.
we were talking about that at the summit.
Right.
Like if we pick the right thing, it might be like dominoes falling that makes everything better.
Yeah. You
If we
hope.
pick the wrong thing, it might look better on video, but just fall apart the motion. So that's exactly how I would do that with a person. Now, I might just use his belt buckle. If the belt buckle didn't work, hey, point your belt buckle back at Mrs. Trackman. You know why I call her Mrs., right? Because she
Why?
must be obeyed, right? So point the belt
I
buckle
love
back
it.
and then go.
Okay.
And I'll do stuff like that to change people's movement. And the thing is, if we do this correctly, I should see a movement change in one. If I have to use three swings, the guy's not trying hard enough, not paying attention.
There
You know what I
you
mean?
go. Yeah.
Because
Phone
it's,
them.
yeah. And I don't have to think about how to do it.
All right. So stay there. Before
Yep.
I've got you up, here's a question, and this is something that I struggle with, and I've got my sort of ways to try to train it. Let's just say, all things being equal, let's say that guy, comes back and he's doing exactly what we want. He's getting more depth. He's getting more hip turn. The club's coming from the inside. We're still happy with the grip and the club face, but he's dumping his wrist angles and he's hitting behind the ball or he's hitting it thin.
Oh my gosh. Were you there today?
How how do you improve impact
Well, first,
when all of
first,
that stuff that we sort of like, the shape of the swing, the club
yeah.
face is strong enough, whatever, but they're still dumping it and the impact is not where we want it. Are there any drills or anything that you do, or external cues that you give them to like create some shaft lean to get blow points somewhere forward?
First and foremost, I mean, I swear to God, you were there for this golf lesson today.
I'm,
Um,
I'm in your
so he
I'm in your
goes,
head.
you know, and I'm flipping it. I go, you ain't flipping it. And he's flipping it.
Yeah.
I go, you're not flipping it. You're a premature ejaculator.
Oh my God.
I get
Did
paid
you?
for this.
I
I get paid
love
for
it.
this shit. It's unbelievable. So I
All
go,
right.
no, you're not flipping it. What happens? What you see as a flip, I see as out of order movement.
Okay.
You're going back here, and because you have no backswing, your brain is going to get that club moving. That's why it looks like a flip. And I said, look at your video now, and the flip is gone. Because the flip is more of what moved first, right? As long as you try to get the club head on the ball first, rather than like I dare you to move like this. If the club stays up top, and you can't flip it, you can only flip it when the club starts the downswing. Right? You can't do it.
So do you
So
cue the handle, or what do you like to, or what do you, I mean, I get
no,
what you're saying, but I still see people
so
that are coming down again from the
right,
inside,
they
dumping
can
it
do it.
super early, and
Right.
then,
So
can't get
we're
the blow
here.
point forward.
That person is trying to get the club to the inside just by swinging the club head inside. And they might even be doing it by going this way,
Hmm.
which is a wrist angle release. But it's inside. Look at that. That is inside, baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're done, right? But that's when they're trying to do it. I'm not even moving this hot body yet, right? But if I move the body first, it turns out it's really hard to get that club. And all of a sudden the release is more out in front.
Okay. So you're
Does that
saying
make
it's
sense?
more, well, yeah, I get the sequence. And so
There
you think just fixing the sequence of the body shift
goes
and rotation and all the forces is going to just
goes a very long way.
magically going to fix the flip and the scoop.
Unless I can't get them to stop premature ejaculate.
Yeah.
You go hands first, we're gonna have a war. Now, the other thing though that I do see a lot of is someone's so the flip is a solution, not a flaw. There, I said it. The
Okay.
flip is your brain's solution to something you've already effed up in the swing. So, for instance, you've got the down the logo grip thumb and the right hand on top like this, and the club face is so open that you're almost looking at the back of the club, right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Well,
get that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know that, right? But the
No,
people
I'm
might
just
not,
saying, like, I get that. That would be a reason why somebody would flip it.
right?
But
But
my question
another
is like, when
one,
everything looks really good,
yeah,
and then it's all it's coming out. Like, are there
Yeah.
any drills or cues that you're going to
Oh
give
yeah.
somebody like to change that?
So you're coming from the inside,
Yeah, let's just say
and
the
the
path is
first
right where you want it. The face is good, and then we're
right,
still dumping it, and our body. I mean, we're shifting. Like the sequence is pretty good, and they're still dumping it.
beautiful. All right, so now you got to look for the golfer's radius of the swing.
Okay.
Okay, so the person by so let's say that the golf club revolves around the sternum, like the notch in the throat, sternoclavicular notch. You could pick other points. It revolves on the hands too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I use this one the most. Well, if this is too high above the ground, the only way to reach the ball is to release early.
All right, so the radius gets longer, so they can reach the floor.
Right.
Gotcha.
So that goes back to some folks have very tall address, which I don't think I can do it wrong. I don't think it's just burned in at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They stand super tall here, or more likely, they don't have enough left shoulder down here
Right.
or
So
right
lose
shoulder
posture in the
down here.
backswing. Yeah.
Yeah, lose posture
Gotcha.
in the backswing.
Yeah.
You're too tall. You got to release it early, or you can't play golf.
Hmm.
Or
Okay.
what a lot of people will do on the way down, we'll see this here. That right shoulder is really high,
Hmm.
right? If that
Mm-hmm.
shoulder is really high, the only way to actually hit the golf ball is to throw the club more.
Gotcha.
So sometimes I'll be working on stuff like that, and now I'll tell people, okay, I'll put this club up here, and you got to get this sucker on the ball.
Oh, I like
Now,
that
when
one.
I do
Yeah,
that,
club
you see
across the
some,
chest.
yeah, you see some movement, right? And I have done it like this too. I've done it with the stick again. Like, so we have all these tools, but you got to figure out what's the root reason why,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is it sequence? Is it body orientation? This now the biomechanist hat comes out, right?
Yeah.
And for instance, if my left hip gets kind of up, little pelvis tilt on the left side,
Mm-hmm.
the right hip goes down. Look where the shoulder is now.
Yeah. The lower
Now, if I
club
do
floor.
right, so that's one of the ways that all of a sudden that changed. The thing is, that changes instantly when I cue this. For me, what I'm doing here, I'm pulling my belt buckle up and around.
Gotcha.
Right, that's same as the stick. I use the stick through here
Yeah.
again.
Right on the
Or I'll
forward
have to
swing.
put it in my hand here. By the way, folks, if you try that at home and you're going to make a fuller swing, pull the right end of
Yeah.
the stick
I
all the way
almost
out.
did it
For God's
with a really
sakes,
good junior the other day, and he goes, He's like, I'm gonna hurt myself." I'm like, "Yeah, you are," because he drops
yeah,
it inside. I'm like, "That would be a
right.
bad
That would be a
idea."
bad thing.
So
So
how many of that how much of that is going back? It's a poor concept. Like I'll put people in impact position, like
mhm,
static impact position, and just let them explore like what. And that, usually they're like, "Oh, I don't get there."
right.
Because I thought it was supposed to be here, or I thought I was
Hmm.
supposed to return back to address. How important? How much? Or do you do that at all? Like,
I actually don't. I don't like to think of impact as a position, although we look at it. It's an event in the middle of from
yeah.
here to there. So what I'll have people do is, let's say, if I'm getting close, I can have people do really cool things, like, of course, in this room, I wouldn't have a golf tee.
Hmm. Right. So you wouldn't you're not a fan of like showing them what impact should look like, and then maybe having them hit like little mini punch shots or anything like that for to
I would
improve
go the
impact.
second, absolutely.
Okay.
And we sometimes we'd go with the low burning wedge,
Right.
right?
So
But
again,
I'm not,
change the intent and maybe not exactly tell them how to do it right away, and
right,
then see
right,
if
right,
they
right.
can change it.
I so I how can I not have a tee in here?
You're in your home learning center. You don't have a
Right.
T.
All right. So I'd put a tee right here. You with me?
Yeah, to the
Out
front
in
of the
front.
ball. Yeah,
Yep.
I use
It's tall.
chalk. I think it's really good to
Oh,
like
beautiful.
put chalk on. If that's the only good thing
Yeah.
about teaching off of a mat is you can draw stuff.
Yeah, that's very handy and dandy.
Hmm.
All right. Anyway, so
Yeah.
now what I've got to do is I've got to get both the ball and the tee in this way. That all of a sudden you start to see some cool movement,
Mm.
right? And you'll see some cool body movement. You'll see people as they're coming down, and sometimes I will go, okay, listen, what I need you to do, you're pushing against the shaft way too much for me.
Yep.
You need to pull along the shaft, the long end of the shaft
Okay.
more,
With
right?
more with your lead arm, lead side,
Could
would you
be, yeah,
say?
I would say lead arm. I would say
Yes.
actually both arms. And
Okay.
also when I do that though, when I pull that, notice that I'm turning here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I would give it this treatment. You've done this a million times. I know you have.
Yep.
So you've got this, probably one small trick to it. All right. So we know the
Just
beaten stick. I used to have a
so
really hard one.
so for the audio listeners, he's got a shaft or dowel rod in the club, holding on to the end of the club, which is pretty. And the shaft or the club and the dowel rod's to the left of his body.
Right. So now
Kind of like
you
the
could do the don't touch.
yeah.
There's your wedge game.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, what we might do is go, hey, I want you to keep, if you would, for me, can you keep the red end of the stick pointed down the longest?
Mm,
Now,
I like that.
yeah, it was over here. Oh my goodness. I should have my video on for that, But that's a really cool way to do it. I try to keep it pointing down the longest I could. And
Mm-hmm.
you see this whole body looks totally different.
Yeah.
I like to see people's lead shoulder on top of their lead foot. I hate to see people, unless they're hitting a driver, with the lead shoulder behind
Yeah. More
the
right
lead
bend.
foot.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
Gotcha.
So those are the kind of things I would do to, and then just like you said, punch shots and punch out. And
Yeah.
if you got a flipper, they're actually going to hit their punch shot farther than their full swing anyway.
Oh yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
always say they usually end up kind of in between like their old swing where they bounce the shaft off their back because they have no control over the shaft
Right, right, right.
to like a punch shot feel, and it kind of falls somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
And um, yeah, the one video that you showed in your presentation I thought was cool with the young lady, and you put tape on her forearm and her bicep, and you
Yeah.
said I want you to try to feel that tape getting closer together. All you're doing is creating more right wrist bend, right, and
And
better
later right
trail
elbow
arm
straightening.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's all.
Right.
And yet, in order to hit the ground, you've got to have those bends and tilts that you just talked about. So that's perfect, like
Exactly.
external cue that's gonna
Yeah.
hopefully cause the
Putting
body
the
to do
tapes
something
together.
different.
So, and you know that. What am I going to tell you new? So you're straightening your right arm out too soon. So
Yeah,
we went, keep the tapes together, get them closer together. It was a
yeah,
tape on the forearm and a piece of tape on the biceps. Get them closer. Then all of a sudden, and it was, that was live in three swings. We saw three. Well, the middle one went from good to gooder, but the third one was Brooks Kepka, or what we call Bruce Cupcake around here. It was really exaggerated,
yeah.
but that's if we cue them properly, we see that kind of movement change, and that was not set up. She had never done that before.
That's
That
cool.
was that was live in our skilled coaching alliance. We have these office hours. It was live office hours, and I like to do that sometimes. But my neighbor came down. He had a golf lesson, and he's not that good, but he had a golf lesson live in front of the coaches,
Yeah,
so we could talk about delivery of the message. And again, I will use internal whenever I get stuck, but usually I got to get stuck to be there. You
gotcha.
know,
Makes sense. Makes
cool.
sense. That's awesome. All right, so and I've kept you long enough. I appreciate your time. This is fantastic. Yep, the listeners are gonna have to go to the YouTube version after you download and listen to the audio version, so we can
Right.
get those downloads for both at
That's
both
right, baby.
sites. But all right, last question before I let you go, and then you can tell everybody how they can sign up for your app and all the stuff that you're doing, which is fantastic. If you had to get a message to the world, to billions of people, and you could put that message, could be a quote, a mantra, a picture, whatever, on a billboard, metaphorically speaking, what would your billboard say and why?
So we had some situations at my house in the last year with the boss lady, who I love to death, having cancer, me having a little situation with the old brain. Um, Life is very short. It's not that serious, right? It's just like the whole everybody's taking everything. Everything's personal. You disrespected me, and we're killing each other because you cut in front of me. uh, I think we need to just understand that this is our time here, especially as I get older, is terribly finite.
Hmm.
Let's take ourselves a little less seriously, try to have a little bit more fun. I'm speaking to myself there too.
Yeah, it's a great message, and you're not wrong. I mean, I think once we both sort of turn 50, like I mean, you start thinking more about your more I want to say mortality.
Right.
Yeah,
It is.
or,
It
or
is.
it's
It's
kind
true.
of morbid, but it's like it's reality, right? So it's like
Yeah.
and I love your passion, and I wish I could spend a lot more time with you, and hopefully we can do that
Yeah.
more in the future. I
I think
so
we got to
enjoyed.
figure that out. We got to figure
Absolutely,
that out.
absolutely. We had a ball last week, and
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you do for other coaches, and that's really what this podcast is for. So you've dropped so many great nuggets, and we'll
Well,
definitely have to do part two at some point.
beautiful. Most of that stuff is at skilledcoachingalliance.com.
Yeah, good. I was gonna
Skilled
say,
Coaching Alliance. It's not as expensive as TPI, but it has been said by a top 100 coach, the most important program in golf. Um, the very best coaches in the country have said that there's nothing like it, and most certainly we're not being taught that at school. So it
right.
will, if you're a coach, it will help you. I promise you. That is an absolute fact. And then the practice coach golf. If you go, in fact, if you go on my website, practicecoachgolf.com, and you sign up for it there rather than the App Store. You put in JD Golf 30. I don't make any money on that, by the way, but we'll give you it's $49, so less than the price of a box of balls per month. Me and Will Woo are going to take you through every practice session, but you get it for $30 rather than 49. So I'll do that for your folks.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's awesome. Well, my friend, I appreciate you so much, and again, we're gonna have to do this again and stay in touch more often.
That was totally
I
fun.
miss seeing you. I
Yeah,
miss seeing you.
that was really fun. I can't wait to come back down there again. So I already got invited back, man. So we're
I have
gonna,
to come up, man.
but you got to come
When you
up.
host something, I'll have to come up
Yeah.
and speak.
They,
So
I've been on the committees for so long that they've kicked me off. So
I think I'm about done after this tenure as
yeah,
well. I'm
yep,
the chairman now. Been on the committee
very
forever.
cool.
So yeah, we're just trying to do our best to spread the word and
Yeah,
try to help other coaches and lift everybody up. But you're
got
the
to get us
man.
on the PGA is what we got to do. That's what I have to do.
Yeah,
Reach more coaches.
that's right.
Um, but it's we know we're living proof it's possible to do very nicely as a golf coach and make a positive influence on people. That don't suck,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Uh, Very
And
cool.
you're on Instagram. You're John Dunigan Golf, right?
Uh, that's
Or is it Dunigan Golf? I have to look.
John.Dunigan is Instagram,
Oh, okay. There's not the
and
golf. Okay,
Twitter is John Dunigan Golf.
perfect.
Um, but I'm out there, and it's there's some goofiness, folks. There's some stupid looking drills that actually work terribly, terribly well, and most of it is from live golf lessons.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. All
All
right,
right,
my
man.
friend,
You're the best.
you are the best. Thank you
I
very much for having me. I'll
appreciate you.
talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
All right, take